Ready?
Ready.
Go.
I think you'll be weird. One bloody one.
You're so
Hello and welcome to another TLD media video. This is the second out of our series of 7 evaluation questions for our media coursework.
And the question was, how does your media product represent particular social groups? So should I start off with this one?
Yeah, me and Lewis are going to answer this in this video as always.
Right, for the first social group, you'll be straight away drawn to sort of a middle-aged, slightly older male, which is Robert Nicholson, the news reporter.
Yeah, I remember him.
And he's straight away the first character you're going to see after the titles and stuff like that, and the production companies that we've used. So sort of you're straight away drawn to him, and he can kind of, like, his sort of social group is the sort of older generation, a sort of generation that might watch our film because it's new, fresh, and something, because thriller films have existed for a lot.
Try not to be too insulting to our actor.
because the older generation is sort of used to the cliche sort of thriller films. This might be something new and fresh that they might enjoy. So do you want to discuss Grace?
Oh. So another social group that our film helps to represent is the younger generation. And if you've watched our film, which I know you all have, it's amazing, you will see at the start where Robert Nicholson talks about the missing girl that's gone missing, or has she? Harriet Smith is mentioned, and her age is mentioned as well, and a photo of her. From the photo you can see she's quite young, but not too young, and her age is 13. So we are representing all the younger kids, the younger generation, so that they will want to watch it because it's not full of boring adults who are talking about boring stuff like banks and money and medicine.
You would usually sort of expect boys of her age to sort of watch this film because it's sort of, when you're a kid, you kind of really sort of want to watch sort of 15 and 18 aged films, whereas girls are kind of more...
Not that you should, we're not promoting that, that is bad, don't do it.
But you wouldn't necessarily find girls that would watch a sort of thriller film. You'd more expect them like Disney or something like that, and that's sort of an area that Disney would sort of focus on, whereas we have sort of focused on the male sort of side of things, but also it's kind of unisex as well, because we've got both female and male characters, and we kind of sort of had to balance it out because we wanted to attract a broad audience because that means that we can sort of not necessarily gain more money, but make our film more popular as well in the process.
I was going to say something then.
You've got to start with Lieutenant Bradshaw now.
No, what was I going to say? It was something about... Also, with the character played by Grace Rayner of Harriet Smith, she is the cliche damsel in distress of the thriller genre. So...
But it's sort of different this time because she's quite young as well.
Yeah, because usually you get the really pretty blonde, not that I'm blonde.
Sort of like Taken, really, I think. Like the sort of...
Yeah.
There's always you would never really expect a male to be taken, whereas...
It's like Scooby-Doo where Daphne always goes missing. Grace Rayner is our Daphne.
The reason why we used Grace was because we sort of didn't want to make it too cliche, and obviously she's younger as well, so it kind of makes the storyline more intense because obviously she's less independent than, say, a 30-year-old woman, whereas...
And you never want a kid to go missing because that is terrible.
Exactly. I mean, you would often hear about kids going missing,
and then your heart
is
just like, oh, so terrible.
You'd never see it in a film. And our next character is Lieutenant Bradshaw.
Push the boundaries there. Boundaries. That's
Okay.
the new word.
Our character is Lieutenant Bradshaw, who is a sort of late 40s, although he does look younger.
Thanks to Botox.
Well, he does look younger. He is a 40-year-old sort of ex-detective, and he's sort of... You would usually expect for a film to have a qualified and sort of working detective, whereas we haven't gone for that, as we've sort of chosen the sort of unemployed side of males, and obviously any kind of male is going to watch this because
And in the economic climate that we are at, there are quite a lot of unemployed males, so it will attract all of them.
I mean, especially as there's quite a lot of cuts to sort of like the police department in the UK as well. Kind of seen as this is a British-based film because we're an independent company as well.
And we're British.
We kind of also chose to use, like, we used Jack Price, the actor, as a sort of way to represent the unemployed sort of side, like ex-police force, all of that. I mean, whether it be through disability or retirement, you can still sort of relate to the ex-police officer scene. And this is something because you usually expect police detectives and other people in workplaces to sort of expect a thriller film to have at least one police detective in it, seen as a thriller, and then you'd expect people from a workplace anywhere, be it police or business or anywhere like that, to sort of talk about the latest thriller film. And the reason why we selected a police officer as the main character was because, well,
we took inspiration from Seven.
Mm.
Also, I think that in most thriller films, with the police detectives and people like that, you expect them to, you know, be in a paid role because that sort of gives you a little bit more security that they do know what they're doing. They do know what they are doing. Also, with Lieutenant Bradshaw, he has been recently fired from his job, and we do not find out the reasons for this in the opening 2 minutes, so you'll have to watch the rest of the film. So it sort of, I don't know how to put it, like, you lose that reassurance that he knows what he's doing because you don't know the reason why he got fired, because
he also doesn't really look like an ex-police officer.
No, he does not look like an ex-police officer.
And he's kind of sort of middle class, really. He's not upper and he's not really lower. He's sort of, you'd kind of guess that he's sort of living off of what he got out from the police, sort of the, like maybe his life savings before, and maybe and the reason why Lieutenant Bradshaw is going after the girl is because, well,
he wants his job back.
Which can also
so
sort
in sync, sorry.
Which can also reflect groups that are sort of mainly looking for a job or trying to get back their job if they've been fired or made redundant, and they kind of want to go back into the working sort of side of things. And also we have Lieutenant Bradshaw's wife, who we don't see in the opening 2 minutes, but this also reflects...
It's basically a shout out to all the stay-at-home mums.
Well, we don't know if Lieutenant Bradshaw has children until later into it. So you kind of... Lieutenant Bradshaw comes from a normal family, even if he is a police detective as well.
I think that's sort of, though, it like the fact that he's not working and he has been fired does sort of reflect a lot of people like these days.
Yeah, struggling families as well.
Yeah, so he wants to get his job back so that he can provide again for his family and not feel like he's letting them down. So I think
he's
that
even
does,
putting himself in danger for it as well, which, you know...
Which we do not recommend doing. Do it the safe way.
But you can also sort of... like, it's a good representation of female sort of... Because Lieutenant Bradshaw's wife has sort of a part-time job, but obviously they can't rely on the females to be going out and working because that's stereotypically not normal. You wouldn't have a stay-at-home husband or a part-time working husband.
Not that we're saying that if you are that is wrong, because it's not wrong. Everything is okay.
Lieutenant Bradshaw's wife is clearly struggling, and she's obviously confused, and she obviously represents quite a lot of women in this day and age as well, because most of them will struggle or they'll have arguments with their husbands due to work, and it's mainly sort of
stress,
financial reasons, and this is a very good representation as well.
And also I think there's not really that many thriller we wanted to push the boundaries because there isn't that many thriller films where you have an unemployed... You see families that are struggling, but they're never usually...
It's kind of paid attention... Our film was kind of paid attention to detail.
Yeah.
Not just the main character, but every other character as well, and their groups.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, our film represents a wide variety of social groups. And again, in sync, we're like twins today. And
I kind of think that the use of having a broad sort of representation of loads of different groups can kind of bring more people into it, because people can relate to
It attracts a wider
Yeah.
audience.
Say a family of 4 will go to watch it, you'll have a 15-year-old son that is desperate to go watch it, and he might idolise Lieutenant Bradshaw, whereas you get a girl that's kind of only really wanting to go watch it is because there's a girl her age that's in it, and then you might as well, and then you might get
there might be some other reasons she wants to go see it.
male attraction reasons.
Male attraction reasons.
And also you might get sort of like the wife and the husband sort of wanting to get a day out the house sort of thing.
Day out with the
scenario.
kids.
Yeah, and also
Family
you
day
can
out.
download it digitally.
So
But
they can watch it on the home cinema.
it's sort of a thriller film, but it's also a film that an older
Is it
sort of family can
Aimed
watch
at
as
an
well.
older family.
Yeah, and it is aimed at specific groups like males and females, but more specifically a family can watch it because it's not necessarily a thriller film you wouldn't really.
It's not one of them thriller films
No.
that completely cuts out letting you watch it with your family.
No, it's kind of.
Them ones that are really violent, you don't really want to sit there with your dad
No.
watching it, or really overtly
wouldn't-
sexual and
it
you don't want
wouldn't
to be
really-
watching it with your parents.
It wouldn't really be a sort of family film if it was an 18, but whereas 15 sort of kind of middle sort of age groups where most people
Sort of
are.
more
over-
realistic as well, because
Yeah,
like as much as people don't like it, there you do like even if you're not 15, you do hear swearing every single day wherever you go.
yeah,
Let's face it. So it's sort of, although it's not really something that would happen every day, it's sort of the plot is something that could happen.
Hoax isn't a sort of high octane film, only in parts, but it's not sort of hit the ground running, high action, sort of bank robbery. Something like Heat, whereas there's a bank robbery quite early
Sort
on,
of shiver.
and it kind of sets the story. Whereas our film is kind of more psychological, where you have to get your head around it, and we went for sort of the Inception side of it, but also lower the age restriction as well, because then we can kind of get a broader audience. Because I mean, people that are 15 will usually tend to go watch a 15 age film because they can't get into an 18 or lower. Whereas we could have chosen 12A, which would have made it a really different thriller film, but we kind of went in between, and I think that was the key thing for our advertisement, because you wouldn't really get under 12s watching a thriller film. Only once it's released on DVD.
Oh, got the MC Hammer pants on and they're all like wrinkled up.
Right.
So that is it. That is our second evaluation question.
Thank you for watching.
That is our second evaluation question answered.
Thank you for watching.
And we hope you enjoyed it and we hope you understood as much as we did babble. We are really sorry.
If we did.
I'm sure we did.
Thank you.
So we'll see you next time for our third evaluation. Please keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
And so, till next time.
Thank you very much for watching.
And see you later. That was really Australian.